There are a few events that will go down in the history books, I think, regarding American politics. There's the 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center, the 2008 financial crisis, the election of Donald Trump in 2016, the COVID pandemic and the lockdowns of 2020 onwards. And then there was the 13th of July, 2024, when former President Donald Trump was giving a speech in Butler, Pennsylvania, or at least near it. And then an assassin tried to kill him, and he got away with his life by the skin of his ear, I suppose you could say. And I'm going to play the full video. This is coverage from NTD, I believe. Supposedly this is the best you can find, and it's certainly the best I've been able to find of what actually happened. So I'm going to play it, and then we're going to talk about all of the important details.
If
so here we
you
go.
want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Basically, he gets bundled off into a car, and that's the end of it, taken to safety.
Well, time for the MAGA hat, I think.
Boom.
Well, I think everyone's probably seen this already. It's safe to say that that was one of the most amazing pieces of video footage I've ever seen.
It was absolutely epic.
Mm.
Trump has no idea what's going on, gets shot, gets back up, and just puts his fist up. He doesn't know he's not still in danger. He doesn't know what's happened to the shooter. He doesn't know he's not going to catch another bullet, but that is so good.
Yeah, really good. I lived through a few sort of historic moments, like 9/11, and quite often it's not a moment, like you say, you mentioned one of them as the COVID thing. That wasn't really one moment, was it?
No.
But like seeing those planes fly into the World Trade Centers, it's like a moment, or seeing them collapse. This is like a moment in time, which is certainly historic, isn't it? And I was saying just before we started, obviously it's one of the most obvious things to say about it, how close it was to just being another bit of JFK snuff footage. Like he's seeing his head blow up, basically. Here's
a picture that I've seen doing the rounds of supposedly capturing the bullet in motion, perhaps the one that actually grazed his ear. And
seems a bit low for the top of his ear there, but
it does, yeah. But it's
maybe it's just another one that went past.
Perhaps, yeah. But it's amazing that we actually have this picture of a live round being fired towards a presidential candidate.
Former president.
And former president, yes. And of course, there was this iconic photo.
And husband and father, let's not forget.
That's true. So there is this iconic photo that was taken, and I couldn't think of anything better for his presidential campaign than this. I mean, to epitomise his strength as a leader while he's bloodied with his fist in the air with the American flag flying behind him whilst he's being escorted away by the Secret Service. What an image that
is the photo, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
A couple of things to say about that. The blue sky in the background, sort of picture perfect. And the way it's almost like a composition, a proper painting composition where it's got the triangle thing going on. It drags your eye to the centre. And of course, it's reminiscent, incredibly somehow, of the very, very famous image of the Marines on Iwo Jima raising the flag at the top of the mountain on Iwo Jima. It's sort of iconic, isn't it? Immediately iconic.
It seems broadly representative of the state of the Republic at the moment.
I actually saw the photographer, when the shots were being taken, run across the firing line to get to that position to take the photo. So it's very impressive work from them as well. And of course, the media have picked up on this, being the cover of Time magazine. Obvious pick, really. And lots of media outlets have chose this picture because, of course, they would. It's one of the most iconic pictures I've ever seen.
Can we just talk about the event itself for a second, though? Because this is so lucky for Trump to have escaped with just part of his ear shot off.
Yeah, you can see the greys in that image there, can't you? It's very minor, but as we'll be talking about later, he did get very, very lucky. There's
half an inch
to sort of foreshadow that. If he wasn't looking at this picture, funnily enough, of illegal migration, there's like a graph. Right. If he didn't have to look at that graph, if he'd somehow memorized it and didn't turn his head ever so slightly, then that would have hit him in the head and it would have killed him. Simple as that. And so if he didn't turn his head ever so slightly, it would be over, which, I can certainly understand why people saying that there was some sort of divine protection or he's got the mandate of heaven, because you can see that, right? That the sheer amount of luck that has to be involved for him to be grazed in that way and not be seriously harmed is massive.
It's mad.
So here is the New York Post, and they've got a very helpful graphic of where Trump was on stage, that lower red box there. And then you've got the Secret Service agent that shot the shooter, and then the shooter there around, I've seen 130 yards, 150 yards, something in that ballpark.
So not far then.
No, not really. And we'll be talking about that because we have a lot of reason to believe that the shooter didn't necessarily know what he was doing, which is interesting.
What? In terms of handling a rifle, you mean?
Yes.
Right.
So
I was going to say, he knew who's shooting Trump, right?
Well, he didn't get there by accident. No.
Yeah.
But this gives the best lay of the land I've been able to see. I've scoured everywhere, looked at all sorts of different satellite imagery, and this is easily the best angle to see it. But you can see that not only does that rooftop have a pretty good angle on Trump there, but also the Secret Service agents had a very good angle on the shooter there, the sort of lip of that rooftop. And so we'll be talking a lot about that. But what I wanted to talk about as well is that Donald Trump, after the shooting, did give comments to the New York Post. And I'll be reading some of them. He says, the doctor at the hospital said he never saw anything like this. He called it a miracle. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be dead. And he's on the Secret Service, who took out the shooter, said they took him out with one shot right between the eyes. They did a fantastic job. And on the iconic picture that it's doing the rounds, he says, a lot of people say it's the most iconic photo they've ever seen. They're right, and I didn't die. Usually you have to die to have an iconic picture. You can hear his speech patterns even in his quotes there. And he says,
Trump has not been changed by this.
No, not one bit. By luck or by God, many people are saying it, by God, I'm still here. Still got the same Trumpism.
As a shot, the guy that did it, he was a loser.
Yeah.
Loser, this guy.
Worst shot.
Yeah.
That's superb.
Mm-hmm. So it is worth mentioning, a lot of the shots did miss Donald Trump and hit the crowd behind. And this is obviously a real tragedy because it not only injured two attendees, but killed another, and a gentleman by the name of Corey Comparator, I believe. And I wanted to have a look at this gentleman because it is a really quite tragic story that I'm probably going to find quite difficult to read, because here he is celebrating his 50th birthday, and I believe, is this his daughter writing a message or a family member?
Yeah,
okay. So I'm going to read this in full, and it says, this is from Alison. Yesterday, time stopped, and when it started again, my family and I started living a real-life nightmare. What was supposed to be an exciting day that we had all looked forward to, especially my dad, turned into the most traumatizing experience someone could imagine. I know the media will cover this event, and I'm going to try my best to stay away from looking at everything, especially because I've already seen and lived through it in real time. But I want everyone to know what the media will not cover and will not say about him. He was the best dad a girl could ask for. My sister and I never needed for anything. You cool, he would answer. He would do whatever it is you needed. And if he didn't know how, he would figure out how. He could talk and make friends with anyone, which he was doing all day yesterday and loved every minute of it. He was a man of God, loved Jesus fiercely, and also looked after our church and our members as family. The media will not tell you that he died, a real-life superhero. They're not going to tell you how quickly he threw my mum and I to the ground. They're not going to tell you that he shielded my body from the bullet that came at us. He loved his family. He truly loved us enough to take a real bullet for us. I want nothing more than to cry on him and tell him thank you. I want nothing more than to wake up and for this not to be a reality for me and my family. We lost a selfless, loving husband, father, brother. And where were we? Okay. And I will never stop thinking about him and mourning over him until the day that I die too. July 13th will forever be a day that changed my life. I'll never be the same person I was less than 24 hours ago. There are a lot of children out there that say their dad is a hero, but my dad really is mine. I don't think I would be here today without him. Dad, I love you so much that there aren't enough words to express how deep that love goes. I know you'll give heaven some hell. I know that God is proud of the man that came to his gates yesterday. Oh, that was a difficult read.
Yeah. But it's just very interesting to me how Carl Rittenhouse can fire into a bloody gang of Antifa and hit a paedophile, a wife beater, and a felon. But someone fires into a Trump crowd and they hit family men.
Yeah.
I think Destiny just flatly said fuck him as well.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care about
That shows the bitterness of people, doesn't it? But there is a fundraiser for the victims' families, and this is endorsed by former President Trump himself, and it has already reached 3.6 million. But yeah, and I know that money can't exactly bring those people back, that person back. But
Bloody hell, the Heritage Foundation donated $50,000.
wow. We do have it linked in the reading list on our website, and if you want to find it, you need to go to our website, and it'll be down below underneath the videos if you want to donate some money. I fully support those who do, because it's certainly not going to bring back him, but it will help the families to some extent. But anyway, now I've got that said, I suppose we may as well talk about the shooter. And here he is. This is Thomas Matthew Crooks. He's 20 years old, or was, and he graduated recently, 2 months ago, with an associate degree in engineering science, and he worked as a dietary aide in a local nursing home. He had no criminal record, no history of mental health issues, no history of military service either, and just some tidbits of information here. This is what's being sort of circulated. He wasn't allowed on the school shooting team because he was such a bad shot, and that's what has been reported. Apparently, according to some of his classmates, he wore hunting clothes to school, though, and apparently he was bullied almost every day, which you can see.
Why.
Yeah. And
Spiteful mutant physiognomy, isn't it? Quite clearly.
So his politics, he was a registered Republican, which is a bit confusing, and had only voted in the 2022 midterms because of his age. He donated $15 to the Progressive Turnout Project via Act Blue at the age of 17, and this donation came through the same day that Joe Biden was sworn into office. Apparently, his high school classmates knew him as a conservative when the topic of politics came up, and his parents were registered as Democrats and Libertarian, and both of his parents are also licensed counselors, or I've also seen social workers, so one of the two. So he had a pretty comfortable middle-class existence, as you can imagine. And there's not really been any clear motive as of yet as to why he's done this.
Yeah, what a confusing series of data points.
I know,
I
yeah.
feel like they all make sense other than that he was registered Republican, but then that can be explained that it's deliberate, so you get to vote in the primary and screw with the Republicans.
Mhm.
Other than that, if let's say assume that, then it does sort of all make sense that it's just full blown left. You say libertarian, but there's a left type of libertarian as well, aren't there?
Mhm.
You know.
Well, yeah.
So,
also, he doesn't
I
necessarily
assume-
have to inherit the politics of his
Although you
parents.
did say true. Well, they did say his friends described him as conservative, but then you could be a Nikki Haley type conservative
Mm.
that also hates Trump.
I guess.
He obviously, you say there's no motive, but obviously he despised Trump.
Well,
Well, we
that
can
much
assume
is
that.
clear
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, I thought that much was obvious.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
what more? You don't need many layers to this thing, really.
Well,
I doubt he had a very rich emotional life, right?
Well, I imagine that at some point, loads of stuff is going to come out about his social media history or various other things he said to people. We just don't have the information
He was
yet.
bullied.
well, the actual assassination attempt itself, the feds say that he used an AR-15 style rifle that was owned by his father. There was only a 5-mile-per-hour westerly wind, and if we cut to this is the sort
So
of
almost no
distance.
real wind.
Yes.
That means almost no wind. Really.
Yeah, you pretty much don't need to account for it at that. I've not necessarily shot an AR-15 at that distance. It's been more like 50 yards, if anything. But then I'm English, forgive me. But yeah, it shouldn't necessarily be a difficult shot from what a lot of people who go shooting regularly say. And so one can presume that the accounts of him not being a very good shot are probably accurate based on this, because he got off a few shots before the Secret Service finally shot him. So it's worth mentioning as well that he also had explosive devices found in his car and his home.
Well, that's news to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like at the January 6th thing where they found pipe bombs at the Democrat and Republican headquarters, and then that just disappeared.
So this is, by the way, according to a source, an anonymous source that spoke to the Wall Street Journal, and they're the origin of this. So we'll have
If
to
it's
see.
true, then I've just got a picture of full-blown psychopath, full-blown nutter.
Mm-hmm. Well, psychopaths don't, they don't just choose to kill a president necessarily. They are self-interested, aren't they? They might be narcissistic. They might do it for the sort of reason of wanting fame.
As
And
you know,
if he's
there's
bullied at school,
there's
you could see that angle, right?
There's many different shades of psychopathy, though. Aren't there?
Mhm.
Many different
That's true, yeah.
ones.
But let's talk a little bit about the Secret Service response, because there's obviously an ongoing investigation by the FBI, and there's been a lot of criticism of the response from the Secret Service. Here's both Jack Posobiec and Elon Musk. Jack says, "How is a sniper with a full rifle kit allowed to bear crawl onto the closest roof to a presidential nominee?" And then Elon Musk says, "Extreme incompetence, or it was deliberate. Either way, the Secret Service leadership must resign." And I've seen echoes of this pretty much everywhere.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I assume you're going to get to the people who are pointing. Hey, there's a guy with a gun up on the roof.
Absolutely.
There. Okay, I'll leave it then. But it's just phenomenal that this was possible.
It's near inexcusable, really.
Oh, it's totally inexcusable.
Mm.
Like, Trump got shot because of this incompetence. And again, that I think is the charitable interpretation.
It is, yes.
of what's happened.
So this is the director of the Secret Service, and she is called Kimberly A. Cheetle, and she was a Biden appointee, which
Interesting.
perhaps a conflict of interests, maybe. And
Slight bias.
of course, the immense threat level, as said here, was known to pretty much everyone. Everyone knew that tempers were high, that, if you lit a match, everything would go up.
Ever since Trump got nominated in 2016, people talk about, he's going to get taken out. It's only a moment
I made
before
a
he gets
video in
JFK'd.
2017 about it.
Mm.
Like, it's entirely possible that this would happen.
And the thing is that Trump was requesting greater Secret Service protection for quite some time, and it's being denied. And
By a Biden appointee to the head of the
yeah,
Secret
it seems rather convenient, doesn't it? And
Interesting.
not only that, there's been some speculation that resources were diverted to a Jill Biden speech as opposed to Trump. And I don't think many people are gunning for Jill Biden necessarily, so I don't really understand the rationale here. But it seems like there's some partisanship here in the decision making, to say the least.
Just to touch
you can
on,
imagine.
sorry, just super quick to touch on. Might talk about it more in my third segment. But in 1963, when JFK was killed, there's loads and loads and loads of evidence and suspicious facts about what the Secret Service didn't do that day. Loads, and who made those calls and exactly why.
Same with the January 6th thing. Why? You know, who made the call not to bring in the National Guard? Who made the call to essentially allow them into the Capitol? Things like this. Like, there's lots of strange calls that have been made. And the problem is the institutions are hardly what we could consider to be neutral or responsible agents at this point. We know they're staffed with partisans. We know they have partisan agendas. We know that they can't really keep it a secret. So I have trouble believing or giving people the benefit of the doubt of this.
Yeah.
I mean, just another thing, like the explosives in his car or whatever, it's like, okay, if the FBI didn't have a history of setting this sort of stuff up, I would be less suspicious. But I mean, there's the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, there's the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping and things like this, where they've just been directly involved with this.
The Las Vegas shooting.
Well, do we have proof of that yet? That's the thing. Like the two I've just mentioned, I can definitely prove. But it wouldn't surprise me, right, that there are strange and untoward agents that are behind the scenes on this. I haven't got any proof of it, but my gut is telling me, well, this is very strange, isn't it? So,
yeah, I think that there's certainly reason to be suspicious of this and not take a lot of the information at face value, because there are a lot of things at play here. Especially
given the strange behavior of the Secret Service. But sorry, I'll let you carry on.
So Charlie Kirk here talks about a source telling NBC News that the roof that the shooter was on was well known and a high priority vulnerability identified the day before by a security walk. And they confirmed that a counter sniper did not need approval to shoot, and that by looking for approval, they did not follow prior protocol.
Right.
And I can play this if you want, but you know,
it's fine.
It's on NBC, so you know you can go to it there if you want to see it. So we also have this here. This is the actual sniper here taking a shot.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that shot's a couple of
hear the
months
shots
old,
ring out,
if
and
you,
then you'll
wanna
see
really
him
see
later
something
on
that's,
eventually
take a look what
respond.
happened.
Yeah, that's very, very strange. I mean, what were they doing? Giving the kid on the roof with the gun the benefit of the doubt? Like, why would they be waiting for him to shoot?
I've seen it circulating online. I've not necessarily been able to confirm, as with much of these details, that there was around 2 minutes after people started noticing a person on the roof. I don't know whether this was just people in the crowd and there was miscommunication, or this was actually Secret Service agents. We need to get a bit more information yet before we are able to figure that one out. But it was known to people there that at least 2 minutes before the shooting started, that there was someone on the roof
with a gun.
Yes, exactly.
Like there was just someone chilling on the roof smoking a.
And also,
okay, fair enough. You know, but this guy had a rifle. It was obviously he had a rifle. But people were pointing this out. Why didn't the Secret Service get Trump off of the stage immediately?
Yeah, I think that is the key question here, is that they knew there was someone there and they let Trump carry on with his speech for far longer than he needed to. They could have pulled him off stage as soon as they knew.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the sniper, like, okay, there's a guy on the roof. Okay, I'm just going to wait for him to start shooting. Why? What's the point of your job if it's not to neutralize the threat before it actually takes action?
Like you say, it's probably, well, certainly if you're looking at him through a scope from 130 meters, is it yards or meters away?
Yards, but
it's 130 yards.
Yards?
Yeah.
So not very far at all.
Probably about 100 meters.
And if you're looking at him through a scope and it's your job, you say, oh, it's not a hero sandwich the guy's holding. He's got a gun and he's pointing it towards the candidate. I mean,
he's got a gun. It's trained on Trump and he's lining up a shot. Let's see where he goes with this.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? You must, I mean, it's hard to believe that's not conscious and deliberate. Right?
Was there some talk that maybe they were waiting for an order?
Yes.
But the protocol is you don't need to wait for an order.
Why would you need to wait for the order?
That's the whole point of having this type of protection.
There's a guy on a rooftop with a gun. Well, I'm going to have to see what my commander says. No, what is your job? You know? Anyway.
It seems strange, doesn't it? So
mad.
This guy says, I was a sniper. employment officer for my battalion and led hundreds of combat missions. There was major security lapses in the security plan that allowed a shooter to engage President Trump from around 130 meters. An easy shot, he says. And there he is showing the shot again.
Yeah.
So there are lots of people, as I said, that are suggesting that, yeah, this was an easy shot. This shouldn't have been allowed to happen. What
I mean,
would it
this
do?
is a great thread where he just details
Mhm.
how this shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I think that there are lots of people saying much the same thing, and
Yeah.
I'm probably not qualified to talk about it.
130 meters, so still not very far
No.
in terms of
Mhm.
rifle shooting.
Yeah, not with a scoped sniper rifle. I think it should be fine.
So let's have a look at some of the videos here. This video is quite stark in the failures of the Secret Service here. Look, there he is. Very obvious to anyone, even at ground level, where he is, right?
Yeah.
I think they hit him.
This is after the shooting, of course.
But yeah, but there were other videos where they were pointing him out.
Yeah, well, I've got that too. So here's a guy talking about pointing him out to the Secret Service. Then we'll actually go to the
On the BBC, nonetheless.
on the BBC. They're actually doing
Yeah, so
some
could
real
have imagined.
journalism. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to listen to this for about 2 minutes, but it's worth it, I think.
Yeah, Carl, we've been talking to a number of people as they've been coming out of this horrific event. A lot of people very emotional, a lot of people very upset, as you can imagine, a lot of people very, very frightened. Greg was someone who was here. You weren't inside the event,
Nope.
but you were just outside. Tell us what you
Yes.
saw. And
So we had a party here all day. At the you can see behind us at the Brinkles Farm and Greenhouse here. We had a party, and we all decided, hey, you know, when we hear Trump up there, we're going to walk up through the field, stand by the trees up there under the shade, and watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up. And probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking, I'm estimating here, I have no idea, you know, but we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up
you
there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service.
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
Binoculars.
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? I mean, this is not a big place.
Did you see, I mean, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh, yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, just be careful because we don't quite know who's...
But that is very interesting, isn't it, what he was saying?
Can I just mention, I don't think there's any doubt about that guy's eyewitness testimony.
Mm-hmm.
But he, of course, to me anyway, comes across as the cadence and the tone and intonation of what he's saying. It's just an absolute telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's
Right.
no reason to doubt him.
No, there's any real reason to doubt it. But you know what it's like when eyewitness testimony
Mm-hmm.
is usually, it can be very unreliable. 3 different people see the same thing and disagree on what they actually saw. But he comes across as sort of a perfect witness. It seems to me.
He's not the only one.
Yeah, right.
There have
There's
been a
video
few.
footage.
Well, it's
yeah, there's no doubt.
corroborated,
There's
and
no
you can
doubt.
sort of
Yeah,
piece together that his story is correct based on the circumstantial evidence. But no, you're right that his sort of manner of speech seems to indicate that he's being very genuine. You know, I've covered a lot of eyewitness testimony, looked at a lot of the research, and you're spot on. So there's also this as well. And this one is quite unbelievable, really. Sorry about the video.
He was doing the
best
job.
I
I
could
wouldn't
find.
even be doing this. I'd be at some beautiful places in Portuguese Ocean, the
Look, they're all pointing.
Mediterranean, the Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down. See him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
And son, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's
There he
not
is.
easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals.
He's
We
on
have
the roof. He's
drug
right.
dealers. We have people that
Right
should not be
here,
here.
right on the
And
roof.
it's much
He's
tougher
coming
than
up now.
it happens.
He went right on the roof again.
And by that point, he wasn't even in a shooting position, was he? And they're
Yeah.
already flagging him down before he's got to the sort of lip of the top of the roof.
Yeah.
And they were saying, officer, he's up there. And what you presume that they're not even raising their voices that loudly. So you presume the officers were relatively close, which would mean they'd probably be able to see him as well.
Yeah.
Potentially, which
This is a monumental failure of the security services.
absolutely.
There's this idea, for example, that again in the JFK thing, every single it would just be normal. It would just be normal protocol that every single window or every single sort of potential sniper's nest or anything is covered off, is taken into account at least. So yeah, it is incompetence to the point of being suspicious. It is to me anyway.
It's totally suspicious.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Anyway, we're running low on time.
We are. So the final thing I'm going to touch on is that they've said that he acted alone, but the Secret Service, according to Fox News at least,
Yeah.
have not been able to get into his phone.
Official is telling Fox they believe the shooter acted alone. We're also learning that they can't get into his cell phone. They have it at Quantico, but haven't been able to get any data out of it. Backman now is.
Yeah, okay.
So they can
Sure.
Yeah.
potentially spy on Tucker Carlson, according to Tucker Carlson himself.
Yeah.
And they can't get into a potential presidential assassin's phone. Seems a bit strange to me.
I think the
personally.
NSA or whoever can get into any phone they want. at the
Yeah,
time.
I don't doubt it. So this all seems rather suspicious to me, but I think that obviously there's going to be a lot of investigation into this. I think that lots of people looking for answers. I think that this is something that didn't need to happen. I think that the failures from the security service
Are suspicious.
allowed this to happen, and certainly are suspicious. And although Trump credits them for saving his life, I think that there are many questions to be answered here. I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, and if you want to see what else we're up to, you can watch our election night live stream, which just surpassed 100,000 views on the website. Also got 80,000 concurrent viewers across all platforms. We're very proud of it. See what everyone's raving about. Make sure to check it out. And if you want to see everything else that we're putting out, you can also follow us on Twitter, where we always post links to all of the work that we're doing. So if you want to keep updated, that's the place for it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.